It was an early noon in Candlewood. Celestia was in her own room signing some documents which her assistant Raven Inkwell had given her. It took her only about an hour to sign the documents, and after that she didn't have any other more royal duties after the day. And since it was around lunchtime, Celestia was getting a bit hungry, and she decided why not to get something to eat in the dining room. But on her way, she encountered youngest sister Luna, who was apparently also on the way to the dining hall to get something to eat. Luna had taken care of her daily, daytime royal duties for the day, and in the dining room, they both ordered salad. They were just small talking about some old childhood memories and together. But Luna did notice that Celestia was sort of a deep thought or something, so she asked her sister if something was wrong. Is something the matter, Celestia? She asked. Oh, no, I just mean a deep thoughts, that's all. What are you thinking about? Celestia didn't say exactly what she was thinking about, but the main thing that she was thinking of was actually that she had been feeling lonely lately. Ever since the Discord had started dating Fluttershy for about 2 years, and even her other former pupil, her former student, Twilight, had been dating the Royal Guard Flash Sentry for 2 years also, and having those two friends of hers being in a relationship at some point. It made her feel jealous, but for the most part, lonely. At first, Celestia didn't want to mention this to her sister, but Luna could see that something was bothering her, but she knew that to start asking her older sister for questions like repeatedly were not getting her anywhere. But she only asked one more time and said, Celestia, if there's something on your mind, you can always tell me. You know that. Celestia gave a deep sigh and said, well, there's one thing that is on my mind. What is it? She asked. I'm... Ever since Discord and Fluttershy did end up dating, and, Fluttershy with Flash Sentry, yeah, what about it? I have been feeling lonely for myself ever since then. Oh? Well, I never actually had ever any experience of dating before. Ever since we became the rulers of Cassia for over 1,000 years ago, having the time to be a ruler, I knew that there would never be any time enough for even being any socialized with any other nobles or having any serious relationship, and like to a marriage or something. Yeah, you have a good point, sister, said Luna. Even Luna felt a bit lonely herself, but she knew that at least being a princess, or at least one of the ruling princesses of an entire kingdom, was a lot of time consuming. With taking care of the meeting ambassadors or delegations from other kingdoms, or signing documents, or even other much very important royal duties, it would never give them enough time to socialize or even have the time to spend to form of any relationship at any point. But there is one thing you may could try, said Luna. Oh, what is that? Well, I heard something called speed dating. Speed dating? What's that? I don't know, actually. I only heard it's quite popular within the Manhattan, Trottingham, and even in Ponyville, and even here. I never actually had the time to even look that up or, focus on it, but from what I heard, it's quite popular and it is how a lot of ponies found a potential boyfriend or maybe a wife, husband, and things like that. Have you ever even tried that though? Well, I don't really know what it's like even how it even works, said Celestia. Luna realized that her sister had a point. neither of them didn't even know how the speed dating even worked. But within the next couple of days, Twilight and Rarity came by to spend some time with Celestia and Luna for some tea. They were just small talking about all kinds of things. When Luna asked Rarity how it was going between her and Spike so far, Rarity said it was going really well between them. He is a quite true Delta. He really takes care of her, treat her like a princess. And then when Celestia asked, "Do you know anything about speed dating or something like that? Or have you heard about it?" Both Twilight and Rarity looked at each other, looked curious, and said, "Yeah, I mean, we heard about it, and what do you ask?" "Nothing seriously though, but nothing more, not much that, we're just curious." And then Rarity explained how the speed dating actually did work. And Celestial Dude was sitting there listening intensely, closely to details. Later that same afternoon, after that Twilight and Rarity had returned back to Ponyville, Celestia was in her own room, thinking about this supposed speed dating. At least now she has some of the insights, how the things even works. And she thought to herself, maybe I should give it a try. But knowing how much role duties she has, she had to clear her own schedule, which can be sometimes a little bit hard to do. But she decided to look in her schedule if she could find any time window where there's enough time for her to even go there. And luckily, after a couple of more days, she found through her schedule that she didn't had anything planned for a whole afternoon. That would be a perfect window of time for her to go to this place. So she left the castle that same afternoon without any guards. And when she showed up, "Welcome to Canterlot City's speed dating service. How can I help?" The police stopped mid-sentence. The organizer didn't even expect it to see one of the ruling sisters standing in front of her, and other ponies in the same location saw her. They were really stunned. After that, after Celestia had explained why she was there, the organizer did sign her up, and she was meeting with a couple of stallions through the time, but she didn't feel any connection or didn't seem much interest in any of them. But it was near the end when she was matched with one stallion by the name Dreamy Daze. Dreamy Daze had been living in Canterlot in his entire life, and in fact, he has also felt lonely, he said. And turns out they did have some things in common. They like type of same music, type of book series that we like to reading, and even after the speeding was over, they actually went to a small diner nearby to get something to eat and continue the conversation. Dreamy Days explained to Celestia at the diner that he used to be dating a mare a couple of months ago, but he later found out that this particular mare had been cheating on him with another stallion from Trollingham, and that broke his heart. They had only been dating for about a couple of months, and he thought that she might be possible the true pony that he was looking for, or at least potential to be. But when he found out, this mare didn't deny that she was cheating on him. And after that, he didn't want to talk or even see her. And the last one he heard, she actually moved to Trottingham to be with this stallion. And Celestia was very devastated to hear this news or the stories about what happened. And she explained that she never even had any sort of breakup or anything because she had never actually been in a relationship before. And their Dreamy Days said, "That's not surprising to me, Your Highness. I mean, considering that you are one of the ruling princesses, and how much royal duties you're taking care of." That's understandable. So after they both had left the diner, Dreamy Daze actually said that he had a good time with Celestia, and then they just walked separate ways. When Celestia returned back to the castle, Luna was in the library, just small reading a little bit something like that when she saw her sister. "Where have you been?" she asked like curiously. "Oh, I was out." "Oh, where?" she asked. "You know, I was actually to the speed dating service." "Wait, you actually went there? So, tell me, how'd it go?" Celestia sat down and she started explaining some of the things that she saw the stallions that she was matched with. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that now that it didn't turn out, but this individual Dreamy Daze, he seems nice. Did he even ask you out?" "No, in fact, he didn't." "Oh, well, that's too bad. I mean, it seems like he did like you, and might be some sort of chemistry between you two," said Luna. "You may be right about that," said Celestia. But it didn't take long, maybe about 3 days later, when Celestia received a visit from none other than Dreamy Daze. A royal guard explained that she had a visitor. "Who is it?" she asked. "A piggy by the name Dreamy Daze, Your Highness. He is in the front room waiting. Thank you." So she went in there. Sure enough, Dreamy Daze were standing there in the front room. "Well, this is a quite surprise," said Celestia with a big smile. "Yes, yeah, after our first meeting at this that speed dating 3 days ago, um, I actually had been thinking about something." "Oh, what would that be?" she asked. Um, if you would be maybe, I don't know, willing to go out on a date." Celestia was like dumbfounded. She didn't even expect it, because even though they did have a good chemistry, she didn't even expect that Dreamy Daze would show up back at the castle asking her out. But she said yes, and she really didn't expect it, but she smiled and said that she would like that. Both actually decided to go out that same evening to have a dinner. Even when in her own room that same evening before meeting up with Dreamy Daze, Luna was actually helping her sister to get ready. "Don't be so nervous, Celestia. It will go well." "How do you know? You never actually been on a date." "Touche," said Luna with a smile. "But I know for sure that this will be working well. Just be yourself, and don't have to be so much worried about it." "But what if something goes wrong? If I do something wrong or say something wrong that he doesn't want to see me again?" "Celestia, look at me. Have you ever done that before to any boy? Have you?" "No." "If I give you an advice, when you meeting delegations or other royalties from the kingdoms, be like maybe that type of personality, but maybe not too much. Just be that polite and be yourself. It will just be fine. Trust me." And in fact, even though the Celestia were still nervous, but she did take Luna's advice at heart. At the restaurant, at first it was quite awkward between them. Sure, they did have a lot of talk about when they were meeting at this small diner 3 days earlier. But now, they were on their first official date. And at first, Alessia didn't know exactly what to say though. But she managed to break the ice and the silence by saying that she actually did enjoy her time at diner 3 days ago, that he seemed to be quite nice and really quite handsome, and his smile said that she was actually beautiful even to this evening. That made her blush and smile a bit more, and after that, they didn't have any problems to communicate. They were talking about all kinds of things, like their own personal hobbies and what they wanted to do in the future, if they saw any potential, like in marriage, maybe family, or something like that. But when it comes to talking about starting a family, Dreamy Days actually became a little bit sad. Oh, I'm sorry if I said something wrong. No, it's not like that. It just, you know, my father passed away a couple of years ago. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thanks. Were you close? Oh yeah, really close. He practically raised me after my mom passed away when I was just only at least 5 years old. Oh, yeah. And before he passed, he asked me to make a promise. Oh, if I would ever be a father of my own one day, to follow his footsteps, his teachings, how to be a parent. Oh, yeah. That's another reason why when I told you about this mare I told you about. Yes, I do remember her. Yeah, I thought maybe that she could have been the potential to be a future wife and maybe start a family. She did say that she wanted to start a family, and I first believed, okay, maybe that she could be the one. But as she lied to me and cheating on me, and yeah, the rest is history. I don't want to even part of that. Rest of the evening, both Dreamy Daze and Celestia actually had a good time. They really had a great time. Even though the Celestia herself didn't even expect to even to find a potential boyfriend with the Dreamy Daze. But after that, he actually accompanied her back to the castle, gave her a hug, and gave her a kiss and said that he had a good time, and she said the same thing. And she hoped that maybe that they could be going out on another date soon. And he smiled and nodded. In fact, even though they went in the public restaurant, they didn't keep this a secret. Because with the next following days, the whole town knew about this. And eventually the whole kingdom knew about Celestia's first date with Dreamy Daze. And even when Twilight and her friends had asked her how she even found or even where she met Dreamy Daze in the first place, when Celestia had explained that at speed dating, and that was the when Twilight realized that was the reason why she asked about how the speed dating even worked. But she was actually not mad at Celestia. In fact, she was quite happy that she had found a potential boyfriend. And it took about a couple of weeks until when Dreamy Daze and Celestia made it official as an official couple. It did happen sometimes after that Celestia and Dreamy Daze became an official couple. She started having nightmares. Terrible nightmares where Dreamy Daze were leaving her for someone else. And those nightmares terrified her. It she believed those nightmares could have been a sign from the future that it would eventually could happen. And at first, she didn't tell Luna any of this, since her younger sister has the ability to enter the dream world. But eventually, she did tell her sister about these nightmares, and Luna assured her sister that these weren't nightmares, just normal nightmares, and they weren't any sign for the future. And even though that Celestia was a little bit still very nervous and a little bit terrified that they would eventually could happen. Even though that Luna has stopped the nightmares from happening and replaced them with more happier dreams, like where Celestia and Dreamy Daze would get married and have a family. But even though It's sometimes when she thinks about these nightmares, it still scared her. When she did tell Dreamy Daze about them, he was stunned. And he explained to Celestia that he would never, never in the whole world to leave her. Because he loves her more than anything in the whole wild world. And he said that the new dreams that she had, those might be a good sign that something could happen within the future soon enough. After that, Celestia and Dreamy Daze had been together for about nearly 3 years at this point. Their relationship has still been unbreakable, and those signs of 3 years earlier with those nightmares, they were gone, never even approached back in her mind. But after being together for 3 years, Dreamy Daze actually was planning of a proposal to Celestia. And when he did take her to the same restaurant where they had the first date 3 years earlier, he in fact did pop the question. And she started crying, but it was tears of joy. And she said yes immediately. And then the whole restaurant, the staff, the customers, every single pony started cheering for the royal princess is getting married. It really didn't take long for the whole kingdom to be aware of this new engagement between Dreamy Daze and Celestia. And even the other kingdoms that Celestia and Luna were good friends with gave her all their biggest appreciation. They gave her the biggest congratulations and the biggest good wishes. Even Celestia had informed her friends, and they were also happy for her. And in fact, Celestia had asked Twilight if she wanted to be her bridesmaid. And she said yes. And Spike, which has over time getting kind of good friends with Dreamy Daze, became his best man. And Luna, she was the pony who performed the ceremony. Even after the wedding itself, every pony had a good time at the party, which the Pinky had organized. Every pony of the guests was so happy to see how happy Dreamy Daze and Celestia were when they first starting their first dance together at the wedding party. Seeing how they were looking in each other's eyes so deeply, it was like the whole world stopped, and they were the only ones there. It felt such pure love, and for both of them, they were just happy to have entered a new chapter in their lives together as a married couple. Something that Celestia had been looking forward for 3 years. Later, it was time for Celestia and Dreamy Daze to go on their honeymoon. And in fact, Celestia got a big surprise that Luna, Twilight, had arranged so they would spend their honeymoon on a tropical island for a whole week. And Twilight had made a promise that she will help Luna while Celestia is gone. And Twilight was told by Celestia that she appreciated it. Both Dreamy Daze and Celestia had a great time on the honeymoon. Swimming in the ocean, doing some sightseeing, just having a great romantic time. They couldn't even believe it. Now they were married. A whole new milestone in their lives together. 3 years later, both Celestia and Dreamy Daze made a big announcement to the whole kingdom that they were expecting their first fall within the next few months. And they were so excited. They had even learned they were expecting a daughter. They couldn't be more happier. And a few months later, they had their alicorn daughter. Dreamy Daze remembered his promise to his late father, and he took it everything by heart. He raised his daughter to be as herself, to embrace friendship and love, and always be helpful, and always stand up for what her wrong is right, and also stand up for her friends and herself at any time. Celestia and Dreamy Daze, they were so happy to be with each other. Even at the wedding, Luna had granted Dreamy Daze a spell, or at least a gift, the spell of immortality. Even though he wasn't an alicorn himself transformed to, but he accepted to be as an immortal Pegasi. Because Celestia had been told Luna she was afraid that she would see her own husband growing old while she remained young. And now he's immortal too. But even though their love for each other was still an unbreakable bond, they couldn't love each other more than anything in the whole world. That was made them so happy together. And this is how Celestia and Dreamy Daze found a true love and got a family together. The end.